The first human subject arrived at the observation facility with a scream that echoed through the pristine white corridors, startling Dr. Zex so badly that all 6 of his eye stalks retracted simultaneously. The scream was followed by a string of words that the translation matrix struggled to process, but the emotional intensity was unmistakable. "Put me down, you 6-legged freaks. Where am I? What is this place?" The human male thrashed against the containment field as 3 Quillarian medical assistants guided the floating platform into the main examination chamber. Dr. Zex composed himself, extending his eye stalks to their full height. As the lead xenobiologist at the Galactic Medical Research Institute, he had reviewed countless data files on humans, but this was his first live specimen, a volunteer, according to the diplomatic agreements, though this particular human certainly didn't seem aware of that fact. "Please remain calm," Dr. Zex said through the translator. "You are Vincent Collins, yes. You signed the Interspecies Medical Research Agreement 3 solar cycles ago. The humans face a fascinating arrangement of features transitioned from rage to confusion." "What? No, I didn't sign anything." "My name is Victor Collins. I was walking home from work and then, I don't remember." Dr. Zex's primary assistant, Dr. Nolo, approached with a scanning device. "Memory tampering? The extraction team was instructed to be discreet but not to modify memories." "I will file a report with the extraction team supervisor," Dr. Zex said. "For now, let's proceed. The human is here and the study must continue on schedule." Victor Collins stopped struggling and stared at them. His face was doing something interesting, changing color slightly, his vocal patterns shifting to a lower register. You're actually aliens. This is real." "Of course it's real," Dr. Nolo said. "Why would we fabricate our existence?" Victor's vital signs spiked, prompting an automatic adjustment in the containment field. Dr. Zex noted the readings with interest. "Fascinating. The human's endocrine system is activating a fear response. Increased adrenaline, cortisol levels rising, yet there's no immediate physical threat, Doctor." Nolo clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Our research indicates that humans claim hormonal fluctuations can influence behavior, but all advanced species have evolved beyond such primitive mechanisms. This must be a physical stress response only." "I can hear you," Victor said. "And yes, hormones absolutely affect how we feel and behave. Right now, I'm terrified and angry, which is why I feel like punching both of you in your... whatever those things are on your faces." Dr. Zex extended all 6 eye stalks in surprise. Aggressive impulses triggered by chemical secretions. "Surely not. The Galactic Medical Council established centuries ago that sapient species develop neurological overrides for hormonal influences. It's a prerequisite for advanced civilization." Victor laughed, a harsh sound that the medical scanners registered as stress-induced. "Well, nobody told human bodies about that prerequisite." Dr. Zex made a notation in his digital log. "Subject displays cultural defense mechanisms through humor. Begin baseline measurements for the hormone observation study." The containment field lowered Victor onto an examination platform. Medical scanners descended from the ceiling, bathing him in soft blue light. "What exactly are you studying?" Victor asked, his voice steadier now, though the scanners showed his stress hormones remained elevated. "The Galactic Medical Council is reassessing its position on endocrine influence in sapient behavior," Dr. Zex explained. "Humans claim unique sensitivity to hormonal fluctuations. We intend to document and analyze this phenomenon." "So you kidnapped me to watch my mood swings." Victor's face contorted into what the reference database identified as an expression of disbelief. "You were selected based on your medical profile," Dr. Nolo said. "Your records indicate pronounced emotional responses to environmental stimuli." "That's called having feelings," Victor said. "Everyone has them." "Not like humans do," Dr. Zex replied. "Most advanced species develop neurological control mechanisms that prevent chemical secretions from affecting rational thought. The Council has long believed that hormonal influence on behavior is a sign of evolutionary immaturity." Victor's vital signs spiked again. "So I'm an immature specimen to you? Great, when can I go home?" The study protocol requires 30 solar cycles of observation. A month? You're keeping me here for a month. The human's face reddened, a vasodilation response that Dr. Zex found particularly interesting. Your transportation home has already been arranged for that date, Dr. Zex said. You will be compensated according to interspecies labor regulations. I have a job, I have a life. You can't just, your employment situation has been addressed, Doctor. Nolo interrupted. A medical leave of absence has been filed, your dwelling maintenance has been arranged, your companion animal is being cared for. Victor stopped mid-sentence. You're taking care of my dog. The canine is receiving adequate nutrition and exercise, Dr. Nolo confirmed. The human's vital signs showed a curious shift, still elevated, but the pattern changed. Dr. Zex noted this with interest. The subject displays concern for a dependent creature that supersedes self-concern, he observed. Make a note, Dr. Nolo. This could be relevant to the social bonding hormone analysis. I have a name, Victor said. It's Victor, not the subject, and yes, I care about my dog. His name is Rusty. Dr. Zex made another notation. The subject Victor attributes personhood to a non-sapient species and assigns it a designation. Fascinating. Victor sighed heavily. Look, if I'm stuck here for a month, can I at least have a comfortable place to stay and some human food and maybe clothes that aren't this, whatever this is? He plucked at the translucent medical garment covering his body. Of course, Dr. Zex said. We have prepared appropriate accommodations based on human biological requirements. You will find them adequate. The adequate accommodations turned out to be a square room with white walls, basic furniture that approximated human designs but missed in subtle, unsettling ways, and a food synthesizer programmed with human nutritional requirements, but seemingly no understanding of flavor or texture. Victor spent the first 3 days alternating between rage, despair, and grudging acceptance. The doctors observed all of it, taking meticulous notes on his hormonal fluctuations and the corresponding behaviors. On the 4th day, Dr. Zex entered Victor's quarters with a new device. We have developed a more comprehensive monitoring system, he announced. It will allow us to track your hormonal levels continuously without invasive sampling. Victor looked up from the strange approximation of a book he had been given. The text was correct, but the pages had an odd texture that left his fingers slightly numb. So you're putting me on alien hormone monitors. Great. His tone registered as sarcastic according to the translation matrix. The data will help us understand the human endocrine system's influence on cognitive processes, Dr. Zex explained. Our preliminary findings are already quite surprising. Your cortisol and adrenaline levels fluctuate dramatically even without external stimuli. That's called thinking, Victor said. I think about things and it affects how I feel. Dr. Zex's eye stalks quivered with scientific excitement. You're suggesting that mere thought patterns can trigger hormonal secretions without sensory input, of course. I think about my dog alone at home, I get sad. I think about being kidnapped by aliens, I get angry. I think about how I'm missing the playoffs, I get frustrated. Remarkable, Dr. Zex said. In most species, the causal relationship is reversed. Hormonal levels influence thought patterns, not the other way around. Victor shrugged. It goes both ways for us, it's a feedback loop. Dr. Zex attached the monitoring device to Victor's wrist. It resembled a sleek bracelet, pulsing with a soft green light. This will be much more comfortable than the previous monitoring methods, Dr. Zex assured him, and it will give us real-time data. Great, Victor said flatly. So what's the plan? Just watch me sit in this room for a month. Oh no, Dr. Zex said. We have a series of controlled stimuli planned to observe your hormonal responses. Victor eyed him suspiciously. What kind of stimuli? Nothing harmful, Dr. Zex assured him. Various audiovisual presentations, taste experiences, social interactions. We are particularly interested in your species' reported emotional responses to fiction. You're going to make me watch movies and see if I cry, simplified, but essentially correct. The concept that humans can experience genuine emotional and hormonal responses to known fictional stimuli is fascinating to us. Victor leaned back on the too-firm bed. So you're telling me that aliens don't get emotional over stories? Not in the way humans reportedly do, Dr. Zex said. We appreciate narrative and can evaluate its quality, but our physiological responses remain stable regardless of content. That sounds boring, Victor said. Efficient, Dr. Zex corrected. Emotional stability allows for consistent rational thought. And you think that's better? Victor asked. Dr. Zex's eye stalks wavered slightly. It is the standard evolutionary path for advanced species. Humans are anomalous. Victor smiled for the first time since his arrival. Maybe that's why you're studying us. Maybe you're missing out on something. The observation continued. Each day brought new stimuli designed to provoke emotional responses. Some were obvious images of human suffering, recordings of babies laughing, food items with strong taste profiles. Others were more subtle, slight temperature changes in the room, barely perceptible alterations in lighting, subliminal audio cues. Victor's hormonal responses were dutifully recorded, analyzed, and compared against his self-reported emotional states. Dr. Zex and his team were particularly fascinated by the discrepancies times when Victor claimed to feel one way while his hormones indicated something else. Your conscious mind and your endocrine system seem to be in disagreement, Dr. Zex noted on the 8th day. You report feeling fine, but your cortisol levels indicate significant stress, Victor sighed. It's called putting on a brave face, Doc. Humans do it all the time. You deliberately misrepresent your internal state. Why? Social lubrication, Victor said. Sometimes it's easier to say you're fine than explain everything you're feeling. Dr. Nolo, who had been monitoring the exchange, approached with a data pad. This suggests a level of deception integrated into normal human social interaction. It's not deception exactly, Victor said. It's simplification. Everyone knows I'm fine sometimes means I don't want to talk about it. Dr. Zex made a notation. Fascinating, your species uses standardized verbal cues that carry contextual meanings contrary to their literal definition. We call those idioms, and yeah, language is complicated. On the 10th day, they introduced a new element to the study. A second human arrived, a woman who, unlike Victor, seemed fully aware of her participation in the research. Hello, she said when they were introduced in a neutral observation room. I'm Emily Chen. I volunteered for this study through the Interspecies Scientific Exchange Program. Victor stared at her. You volunteered, they kidnapped me, Emily frowned. That doesn't sound right. The protocols are very strict about informed consent. Dr. Zex, observing from an adjacent room, noted the spike in both humans' hormonal levels as they interacted. Their chemical signatures are already synchronizing, he told Dr. Nolo. See how their cortisol levels rise and fall in tandem. And note the increase in oxytocin production in both subjects. Could this be a mating response? Dr. Nolo asked. Possibly, though human mating behaviors are complex and often disconnected from reproduction itself. This may simply be social bonding. In the observation room, Victor and Emily had moved from discussing the circumstances of their arrival to sharing details about their lives on Earth. I'm a software engineer, Emily was saying. I specialized in AI systems before moving into biomedical applications. When the opportunity came up to participate in alien medical research, I couldn't say no. What about you? I'm a high school chemistry teacher, Victor said, and I definitely did not sign up for this. Emily looked troubled. That's concerning. The ISIP guidelines are very clear about consent procedures. Maybe there was a clerical error, Victor laughed bitterly. A clerical error that resulted in me being abducted by aliens, that's one hell of a mistake. Dr. Zex observed their interaction with growing fascination. The hormonal readings were unlike anything in their database, complex cascades of chemicals that seemed to influence minute behavioral changes, from pupil dilation to subtle shifts in posture and vocal tonality. The complexity of human social chemosignaling is remarkable, he noted. They appear to be exchanging information both verbally and through unconscious hormonal cues. Dr. Nolo's analysis focused on different patterns. The female's endocrine readings suggest she's approaching a cyclical hormonal shift. According to human medical data, this would be the premenstrual phase. Excellent, Dr. Zex said. That provides an opportunity to observe naturally occurring hormonal fluctuations without experimental stimuli. Over the next few days, Victor and Emily were allowed to interact for several hours each day. The scientists observed as Emily's premenstrual hormonal changes progressed, noting with interest how her reported emotional state fluctuated. "I'm sorry," she said to Victor on the third day of their interactions. "I'm feeling irritable today. It's not you, PMS," Victor asked, displaying what the aliens noted as cultural knowledge of female hormonal cycles. Emily nodded. "Yeah. I usually take supplements that help, but they don't have them here." Dr. Zex, watching the exchange, immediately ordered his team to synthesize the supplements Emily mentioned. This was a perfect opportunity to observe how exogenous compounds interacted with natural hormonal fluctuations. When the supplements were delivered, Emily took them gratefully. "Thank you, this should help. We are interested in observing how these compounds affect your hormonal balance," Dr. Zex explained. "Your discomfort provides valuable research data," Emily laughed. "Well, at least my misery is scientifically useful," the monitoring continued. As Emily's hormonal cycle progressed, the scientists observed patterns in both humans' behaviors. Victor became more attentive to Emily's needs, displaying what their reference materials called empathy, while Emily's emotional responses intensified before stabilizing after taking the supplements. On the 15th day of Victor's captivity, Dr. Zex called a meeting of the research team. "Our preliminary findings are revolutionary," he announced, displaying holographic charts of human hormonal patterns. Contrary to established Galactic Medical Council doctrine, these humans not only experience significant behavioral influence from their endocrine systems, but have developed cultural adaptations to accommodate and even utilize these fluctuations. Dr. Nolo presented comparative data. In Quillarian physiology, similar hormonal fluctuations would trigger medical intervention for dangerous instability. Yet humans function, even thrive, with these constant chemical changes. A junior researcher raised a limb. Could their shorter lifespans be related to this hormonal volatility? "Possibly," Dr. Zex acknowledged. "But that doesn't explain their species' remarkable adaptability and technological progress despite their relatively brief existence. In fact, I'm beginning to hypothesize that their hormonal responsiveness might contribute to their creative problem-solving abilities." The discussion continued, with various team members offering theories about the evolutionary advantages or disadvantages of the human endocrine system. Meanwhile, in their respective quarters, both humans were experiencing their own revelations. Emily had begun keeping a journal of her experiences, documenting both her own emotional states and her observations of the aliens. Victor, for his part, had started teaching himself the basics of Quillarian language from educational materials provided upon his request. When they met in the observation room on the 16th day, both shared their insights. "They're fascinated by us," Emily said. "I've been watching how they react to our emotional changes. It's like they can't comprehend how we function with what they see as chemical chaos in our bodies." Victor nodded. "I've been learning some of their language. They don't even have words for certain emotions. The closest translation for nostalgia is something like memory-based malfunction." Emily laughed. "That's both sad and hilarious." "I know. And get this, they think hormonal influence on behavior is a sign of evolutionary immaturity. Like we're primitive because we feel things based on our body chemistry." Emily considered this. "You know, from a certain perspective, I can see their point. Wouldn't it be easier if we could just think clearly all the time without emotions getting in the way? Maybe easier, but better." "I'm not so sure." Their conversation was interrupted when alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, and an announcement in multiple languages echoed through the speakers. "Attention all research personnel. Security breach in Sector 7. Unknown contaminant detected." Quarantine protocols activated. Victor and Emily exchanged alarmed looks as the doors to the observation room sealed shut. "What's happening?" Emily called out. Knowing the aliens were monitoring, Dr. Zex's voice came through the communication system. Please remain calm. There has been an incident in another research division. As a precaution, all sections of the facility are being temporarily isolated. Are we in danger? Victor asked. There is no immediate threat to your section, Dr. Zex assured them. However, facility-wide quarantine procedures require that all subjects remain in their current locations until the situation is resolved. What Dr. Zex didn't tell them was that the unknown contaminant was actually a neural pathogen developed for military applications in another wing of the research facility. An accident had released it into the ventilation system, and while containment measures had been activated immediately, several Quilarian researchers had already been exposed. The effects were becoming apparent as the infected Quilarians began displaying unprecedented emotional volatility. The very hormonal responses that the scientists had been studying in humans were now occurring in their own bodies, overwhelming their neural control mechanisms. Dr. Zex observed with horror as his colleague Dr. Nolo began experiencing rapid hormonal fluctuations after examining an infected researcher. Within hours, Dr. Nolo was exhibiting behaviors never before seen in their species, crying, laughing uncontrollably, and expressing intense fear. The pathogen appears to be targeting the hormonal suppression mechanisms in our neurophysiology, Dr. Zex reported to the emergency response team. It's releasing the primitive emotional responses our evolution has contained for millennia. The facility's medical director, Dr. Vrel, reviewed the data. Is there any indication that humans would be affected? Unknown, Dr. Zex said. Their neurophysiology is radically different from ours. They lack the suppression mechanisms the pathogen seems to target. They might be immune then, Dr. Vrel suggested, possibly. Or they might experience even more extreme effects, given their already volatile hormonal systems. The decision was made to keep the humans isolated while the situation was assessed. Meanwhile, more Quilarians fell victim to the pathogen, their carefully controlled emotional states dissolving into chaos. Dr. Zex, still uninfected due to his isolation in the monitoring room, watched as his fellow scientists experienced the full force of their own emotions for the first time. Some wept uncontrollably, others expressed rage or euphoria. The medical staff struggled to contain them as their behavior became increasingly erratic. This is what humans experience constantly, one infected researcher asked Dr. Zex through a quarantine barrier, her eye stalks quivering with emotion. How do they function like this? Dr. Zex had no answer. The question had become the center of his research, and now it took on new urgency. 3 days into the quarantine, with the situation growing more dire, Dr. Zex made a difficult decision. He opened a communication channel to Victor and Emily's observation room. We require your assistance, he said, his voice uncharacteristically strained. Our facility is experiencing a medical emergency that may benefit from human insight. Victor and Emily exchanged looks. What kind of emergency? Emily asked cautiously. Dr. Zex explained the situation, the pathogen, its effects on Quilarian physiology, and the crisis it had created. So your people are experiencing emotions the way humans do, and you can't handle it. Victor summarized, essentially correct, Dr. Zex acknowledged. Our species evolved to suppress hormonal influences on behavior. The pathogen has disabled those suppressors. And you want our help because we live with this all the time, Emily said. Yes. Your species has developed cultural and psychological tools for managing hormonal influences. We need to understand these techniques to help our affected colleagues. Victor leaned forward. I'll help on one condition. When this is over, you let me go home, regardless of your study timeline, Dr. Zex's eye stalks drooped slightly. Agreed, the emergency overrides our research protocols. Emily nodded. I'll help too, though I was planning to stay for the full study period. Thank you, Dr. Zex said, the translator struggling to convey the emotion in his voice. We will establish a secure communication protocol so you can interact with affected individuals without risking exposure. What followed was a crash course in human emotional management techniques. Through video links, Victor and Emily spoke with infected Quilarians, teaching them basic concepts like deep breathing, emotional labeling, cognitive reframing, and mindfulness. The first thing to understand, Emily explained to a group of distressed alien scientists, is that feelings are temporary. They come and go, they're real, but they don't define you or control you unless you let them. Victor focused on more practical advice. When you feel overwhelmed, concentrate on your breathing. Count to 4 as you inhale, hold for 4, exhale for 4. It helps regulate your autonomic nervous system. The Quilarians, beings who had never needed such techniques before, struggled to implement them. But gradually, some began to show improvement, gaining a measure of control over their new emotional states. Dr. Zex, working with the medical team, developed a treatment protocol based on human stress management techniques combined with Quilarian neurological medicine. It wasn't a cure, but it helped stabilize the affected individuals while the pathogen ran its course. A week into the crisis, the quarantine was partially lifted as areas of the facility were cleared of the pathogen. Victor and Emily were moved to a secure medical wing where they could more directly assist with the recovery efforts. "Your insights have been invaluable," Dr. Zex told them as they observed a therapy session where formerly infected Quilarians practiced emotional regulation techniques. "We had no framework for understanding emotional management because we never needed one." Emily watched the aliens struggle with meditation techniques. "It's strange to think that what's normal for us is a crisis for you. It has caused us to reevaluate many of our assumptions about neurological development," Dr. Zex admitted. "The Galactic Medical Council's position that hormonal influence indicates evolutionary immaturity was clearly incorrect." Victor raised an eyebrow. "Are you saying humans might be more advanced in some ways? Different, not necessarily more advanced," Dr. Zex clarified. "Your species has developed sophisticated mechanisms for functioning with hormonal influences, while ours evolved to suppress them. Neither approach is inherently superior their adaptations to different evolutionary pressures." As the crisis abated and the last infected Quilarians recovered, Dr. Zex compiled his research findings. The study of human hormonal influences on behavior had expanded to include comparative analysis with artificially induced Quilarian emotional states. "The results are fascinating," he told Victor and Emily as they reviewed the data together. "Humans not only tolerate hormonal fluctuations, but have integrated them into your social structures, art, decision-making processes, and even your concept of self." Emily nodded. "Emotions aren't just side effects for us, they're part of how we process information and relate to the world." "Precisely," Dr. Zex said. "And while our species evolved differently, this experience has shown that complete hormonal suppression may have come with costs we never recognized." On what would have been the 25th day of Victor's 30-day observation period, Dr. Zex informed him that preparations for his return to Earth were underway. "As agreed, you will be returned home early due to your assistance during our crisis," Dr. Zex said. "Your contributions to both our research and our emergency response have been significant." Victor felt an unexpected mix of emotions: relief at going home, but also a strange sense of accomplishment, and even some reluctance to leave the extraordinary situation he'd been thrust into. "What about the memory issue?" Victor asked. "When I arrived, I had no recollection of volunteering for this study." Dr. Zex's eye stalks drooped in what Victor had come to recognize as embarrassment. "We have completed our investigation into that matter. There was indeed an error. The extraction team was supposed to collect Vincent Collins, a volunteer who bears a striking genetic similarity to you. The team misidentified you based on genetic scans rather than verification of identity." "So I really was kidnapped," Victor said. "An unfortunate error that will be addressed in our protocols," Dr. Zex assured him. "You will be compensated at triple the standard rate for research participants, and we have prepared documentation that will explain your absence without revealing the true circumstances." Emily, who would be staying for another week to complete her volunteer period, gave Victor a hug when they said goodbye. "This has been the strangest experience of my life," she said. "But also kind of amazing. I'll look you up when I get back to Earth." Victor smiled. "I'd like that. Maybe we can compare notes on our alien adventure over coffee." The return journey to Earth was considerably more comfortable than his abduction. Victor was given a private cabin on a diplomatic vessel and treated with respect by the crew. When they reached Earth orbit, he was transported directly to his home in a manner designed to attract minimal attention. Rusty greeted him with enthusiastic barking and jumping, seemingly no worse for his time under alien pet-sitting care. Victor's house was exactly as he'd left it, save for a few odd rearrangements that suggested alien ideas about human organization. The promised documentation turned out to be medical records indicating he'd participated in an experimental treatment program for a rare condition, all falsified but thoroughly convincing, down to the signatures of Earth-based doctors who probably had no idea their names had been used. Victor returned to his teaching job the following week, telling colleagues and friends a simplified version of the cover story. Life gradually returned to normal, though his perspective had been permanently altered by the experience. 3 weeks after his return, he received an email from Emily, newly back on Earth. They arranged to meet at a coffee shop near his home. "So," she said after they'd exchanged greetings, "have you been experiencing any interesting mood swings lately?" Victor laughed. "Nothing worth studying." "How about you?" "Actually, I've been paying more attention to my hormonal cycles since the research. It's fascinating how much they affect my perceptions when I really pay attention." They talked for hours, comparing experiences and insights from their time with the aliens. As evening approached, Emily hesitated, then asked, "Have you heard the news about the Galactic Medical announcement?" "No, what announcement?" Emily pulled up a news article on her phone. The headline read, "Alien Medical Council revises stance on emotional regulation. Dr. Zex's research was published," she explained. "It's caused a major shift in Quilarian medical practice. They're now acknowledging that complete hormonal suppression might not be ideal. Some Quilarians are even experimenting with controlled emotional experiences." Victor read through the article, amazed. So our mood swings changed an entire alien medical paradigm. Apparently so. There's even talk of a new field of study, comparative emotional physiology, with humans as the primary research partners. Victor shook his head, smiling. All because a bunch of aliens couldn't understand why humans get cranky when we're hungry or cry at sad movies. Or why women get mood swings before their periods, Emily added. Which, by the way, the Quilarians now find fascinating rather than primitive. They laughed together, sharing a moment of understanding that transcended ordinary human connection, a shared experience of having been the subjects of alien research, and in turn, having changed their researchers' understanding of themselves. A month later, Victor received a small package in the mail with no return address. Inside was a device similar to the hormonal monitor he'd worn during his time at the research facility, along with a note written in precise English, "Professor Collins, our research continues." This modified monitor is programmed to record hormonal data and transmit it securely to our continuing study. Participation is entirely voluntary. If you choose to assist, simply wear the device for any period of time convenient to you. Your unique hormonal patterns continue to provide valuable insights. With appreciation, Dr. Zex. Victor held the device, considering, then he slipped it onto his wrist. The small green light pulsed softly, recording the complex cascade of chemicals that, at that moment, were creating feelings of curiosity, amusement, and a strange sense of pride. Somewhere across the galaxy, Dr. Zex observed the incoming data stream with all 6 eye stalks extended in scientific excitement. The human hormonal patterns were as fascinating as ever, a beautiful chaos that somehow produced not weakness but strength, not confusion but creativity. In his latest research paper, still in progress, he had written, The human endocrine system, far from being an evolutionary liability, may represent an alternative path to advanced cognition, one in which emotional experiences enhance rather than hinder intellectual development. Our continuing observation suggests that hormonal influence on behavior, contrary to long-held Galactic Medical Council doctrine, may offer advantages in adaptability, creativity, and social cohesion that purely rational beings like ourselves have sacrificed in our evolutionary journey. Victor went to bed that night wearing the monitor, smiling at the thought of aliens studying his dreams. Before falling asleep, he sent a text message to Emily, who had also received a monitor, giving our alien friends something interesting to study tonight. Planning to watch a sad movie and eat spicy food before bed. Her reply came quickly. You rebel. I'm going to look at old photos and listen to nostalgic music. Let's confuse them with our deliberate emotional self-manipulation. As Victor drifted off to sleep, he wondered what Dr. Zex would make of the human capacity not just to experience emotions, but to deliberately seek them out, to use them as tools for understanding themselves and their world. And somewhere in a pristine laboratory, Dr. Zex and his team watched in fascination as the hormone monitors showed the complex patterns of human emotions playing out across thousands of light years, rewriting everything they thought they knew about advanced consciousness and what it meant to be an evolved being in a vast and varied universe.